All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and try this again. Welcome back to the All Horned Frogs podcast, part of the All-City Network family of shows. This is the second go-round after last week's debut show here from the DLS studios in Dallas. Unfortunately, we're now 0-1. The things didn't quite go as planned Saturday for the Horned Frogs football team at Amon G. Carter Stadium. They led throughout the game pretty much from start to finish until UCF scored in the final minute and withstood a long field goal try that went a little bit to the left, wide left, ended up with a 35-34 victory that leaves TCU 0-1 in Big 12 play. The loss obviously stings. Nobody likes it. Positive side, Josh Hoover, the quarterback from Rockwall Heath, was outstanding. So was Jack Bech, who's going to join us a little bit later on in the show, the wide receiver out of Lafayette, Louisiana, and transfer of from LSU. The Frogs did do a lot of good on special teams. They blocked 3 kicks. Sonny Dykes said he's never been on a team or been in a game or seen a game where a team had blocked 3 kicks. So that's something that the Rangers or the Frogs can kind of hang their hats on there. But the defense looked kind of like it got worn down a little bit. It was hot, it was muggy, and UCF just kept pounding the ball, cranked out 289 yards on the ground, and kept the defense just off balance enough with its passing game to pull out the victory. It was I grew up in Big 8 country. None of this Big 12 stuff. I grew up in Big 8 country where Nebraska and Oklahoma, later on Colorado, became known for the way they ran the ball and their big offensive lines, and they just kept pounding away and wore opponents out. That's kind of what I had the thought of at halftime Saturday as I was watching the ball game. Thought, man, if UCF keeps running, if they stick to their guns, they're going to have a chance. And even when UCF went down 3 touchdowns in the third quarter there, they didn't panic. They stuck with the run game, and it ended up helping them pull out a victory. Nevertheless, the Frogs had some chances to win that game. There's no question about it. Sonny Dykes on Tuesday at his weekly presser mentioned there were several plays that, if they had been executed properly, would have been touchdowns. Late in the game, at the UCF 1, obviously it was costly. It turned what looked like would be 2 chances to get a touchdown into a field goal try, and then field goals will get you beat. That's just the way it is in college football these days. Now, on the bright side, Dykes mentioned that and this one kind of caught my attention. He called the first half that TCU played Saturday the best half of football he's seen since he got there. That includes the 2022 team that had a lot of great halves in it on its way to the national title game. You kind of go back and you look at that schedule, that team, and yeah, that 2022 team had to come from behind quite a bit. Maybe their second halves are what Sonny Dykes remembers the most. But Josh Hoover, as we mentioned him earlier, continues to play very well. Very, very well through 3 weeks. Through 3 weeks, he's one of the top passers in the country. No kidding. He's 3rd in passing yards at 1,022 yards, and he's gone 119 attempts without an interception. That is the most in FBS, Division I, whatever you want to call it, football. A lot of times that the Frogs just want him to not be a gunslinger. They want less Brett Favre, more game management, although Hoover can go out and win you a game, but he's showing that he is showing that he can do both. But playing under control, not a bad thing. Gary Patterson used to always want his quarterbacks just to manage the game. He didn't have a ton of talented quarterbacks. No offense to Jeff Ballard and Marcus Jackson and Casey Paha and those guys, but and Josh Hoover looks like he's going to be a pretty good one here as long as he's in the Sonny Dykes, Kendall Briles system and making the right decisions. Now, after a loss like this, a lot of times the absolute best thing you can do is get back on the field, and TCU gets to do that Saturday in the battle for the Iron Skillet. They're playing their rival, their long time rival, at 4 p.m. Saturday, Gerald J. Ford Stadium in Dallas. Don't confuse Gerald J. Ford with the 38th president, Gerald R. Ford Jr., who is from Michigan, played football for Michigan, and retired in the great state of Colorado. So my mom loved him because that's where we're from, by God, Colorado. But it's a big one. This is a big game. This is the Mustangs are coming off a bye week. That's big. They're making a quarterback change from Preston Stones to Kevin Jennings. Jennings, who runs the ball a little bit more. They've had probably 7-8 practices to get him acclimated, get him installed some new plays that they didn't show on film in their first 3 games. So TCU's at a little bit of a disadvantage. Plus, there's a relationship between Rhett Lashley, the SMU coach, and Gus Malzahn, the UCF coach. I'm sure that Sonny Dykes he said he wasn't just sure, he's positive it happened, that they've spoken on the phone and discussed how to beat TCU. Dykes also raved about SMU, how talented they are. NFL players across the roster, 6 of the top 10 guys listed by a pro football website are from SMU, as hard as that seems to believe. Powerhouse transfers on the defensive line. I don't know why TCU is even bothering to show up, but of course I have a feeling they will show up. The Mustangs might be talented, yes, but they nearly lost at Nevada to open the season, and Nevada is not good. They did lose at home to BYU as an 11-point favorite, low-scoring game. I don't know if a QB change will do a lot to cure all of what ails the Mustangs, but only time will tell. As for the series itself, it dates back to 1915. I believe Woodrow Wilson was president at the time. TCU whipped up on SMU. It was 43-0 in Fort Worth, well before Amon Carter Stadium even existed. As time moved along, those two teams became 2 of the best in the country, really, in the 1930s. And the 1935 game is considered, at the time, was considered the game of the century. It was Doak Walker against Davey O'Brien in Fort Worth. The Grantland Rice, the great sports writer, was there, and that's the day that Sam Baugh became a star, really, because of what old Grantland Rice, the great sports writer from New York, had to say. And then the 35 game was great. That team, TCU would later be quarterbacked by Davey O'Brien, who won the Heisman Trophy, helped TCU to a national championship. The 35 game, TCU lost that to finish 10-1 in the regular season. SMU wins it to finish 11-0, but then goes and loses its bowl game. And back in those days, I think there were 9 different polls, if you will, that awarded national championships. SMU got some, even though they lost their last game. TCU won the Sugar Bowl 3-2 and ended up winning a national championship in a poll, the Williamson poll, who the guy was a mathematician, and he was actually on the Sugar Bowl board or something like that. Anyway, he ended up giving it to TCU. So TCU claims 1935 as one of their national championships. Another one later that decade, as O'Brien led them to the promised land. I think they beat Carnegie Tech again in the Sugar Bowl to bring home the hardware that year. That one was a little more unanimous. But lately depending on what you remember about football in the 80s and whatnot, SMU got and TCU were both cheating pretty good. Nobody did it quite like SMU though, with Eric Dickerson and Craig James lining up in the same backfield. They ended up with the death penalty that was captured in the great documentary Pony Excess. TCU, on the other hand, was doing a little bit of under the table stuff themselves. They ended up turning themselves in, self-reporting, which might have saved them the harsh penalty that SMU received. But I've heard stories of players ordering up a pizza at a local pizza chain, and they would show up and there would be a wad of cash underneath the pizza. So it's quite a quite a time, and all that seems legal now. I think as long as the school's not doing, these guys can get as much money as they want. But more lately, the series it feels like it's been more even on the field. Though TCU's won 13 of the past 16, they've won 2 in a row. Sonny Dykes has won 4 in a row, 2 when he was coaching the Mustangs, and the last 2 of TCU. So this game. It's a fun one, I think, for local fans. I think it's a bigger deal, honestly, for SMU, just considering the TCU had kind of taken off in stature here when they were pretty much even and left for dead from the Southwest Conference. TCU seemed to have a little more success thanks to Gary Patterson, and now the rivalry is actually going to come to an end next year. At least it's not going to be played every year. Sonny Dykes had talked about that last year when it happened, and he basically said, we want to be a big-time program, and we can't be scheduling teams like SMU. SMU at the time, of course, was not in a Power 5 conference. They are now, such that the ACC is. I know it's down with Clemson, not great. Florida State, good Lord, they're terrible. They're coming to Dallas next week, by the way. But now that for now, as conferences align, looks like the alignment's done for now. Maybe they can find a way to get each other back on the schedule, since the game has a little more meaning. But Dykes wants more home games, so you're going to see they're going to see Abilene Christian next year. They just played Long Island. You might see a game like that and another home game against a non-Power 5, but somebody you would recognize. But just you got to play more games at home if you're a powerhouse program. You look at Alabama's of the world, Georgia, they might play 7 or 8 home games. That's where Sonny Dykes wants to get. Unfortunately, it comes at the cost of a pretty fun rivalry, or like we talked about. TCU, I don't know if I mentioned this, all-time 53, 42, and 7 edge over the Mustangs, and it's going to be a hot day. 4 p.m. kickoff Saturday. You never know what's going to happen. The last time TCU was there was Sonny Dykes' first year guiding the Frogs. It was during the magical 2022 run. Max Duggan was the quarterback. A lot of guys on that team had never beaten SMU, whether it be for COVID or for whatever reason it was, and they made it a point that they wanted to win at SMU, or just beat SMU to feel good about their college careers. They did that. Obviously, they won a bunch more games and were on the biggest stage they could imagine in their lives. So it should be a good one. It really should be. If the quarterback change bears the fruit that SMU hopes it does, and if their defensive line is able to get to Josh Hoover, maybe he finally does throw an interception. Maybe he finally does make a mistake that proves to be a little bit too much for TCU to overcome. But looking forward to it, and of course, with my TCU roots, written a book about the Frogs. Went to TCU. I think that I'm going to see the Frogs pull this one out. So good for them, and let's hope it's a good game. Hope everybody comes out of it okay. We're going to talk about it a little bit more here in our next segment with Joe Hoyt, who is on the DLLS team. I do the Rangers. He does the Cowboys, but he did SMU for the Dallas Morning News not that long ago, and he was there when Sonny Dykes left for greener pastures of Fort Worth and a big pile of money. And then after that is Jamie Plunkett. He was on our debut show, the writer from 247 Sports. He's got a real good pulse on the Frogs and what's going on, not just the football team, but throughout. There's more than football that's played over at TCU, and we'll get into that a little bit more. And then the big guest, the big star of the show, is going to be Jack Bech, the tight end, the wide receiver, slot receiver. Just the receiver. His Twitter bio, he calls himself a route runner, or a runner of routes. All right, so the runner of routes, Jack Bech, will be on 9 catches, 200 yards against UCF. Get to know him, get to know the LSU transfer, and get his thoughts on the game as it comes along. But first, before we get to all of them, we need to get to our sponsors, and we sure appreciate the heck out of these guys. Sleeper, the app, it's known for its fantasy football, but really what attracts me to it and attracts my family to it is the daily picks. You've probably done daily picks before, or are aware of them. Sleeper, just very similar to the others. my family, my wife and my son, they downloaded the app over the weekend. They picked some some of the bets from TCU. My wife nailed Josh Hoover having more than 2.5 touchdown passes. She also got right that Savion Williams would have less than 55 receiving yards. He had 2 great touchdown catches, but he didn't get over 55 yards. Last night they went to the Rangers game. It took forever to play the game, but they made 10 picks and ended up getting 9 of them right, and so they ended up winning a little bit. They didn't get the big money because Marcus Simeon didn't get a hit, but they did do okay. So look, and I looked at the app today. I did not look at this weekend's football game between TCU and SMU, but I looked at the Rangers. Wyatt Langford. Do you think Wyatt Langford's going to get a hit? If you think so, you can pick that. 1 hit. So go to Sleeper. Here's what you need to do. If you think you have what it takes, download the Sleeper app. Use the code DLLS to get up to $100 match on your first deposit. That's code DLLS. It works. The Wilsons have done it. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states, including the Lone Star State. Check out Sleeper today. And if you got the Sleeper, excuse me, swallowed a little frog there. Gotta wash this one down. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Tanner, for giving me that brief pause in the action, if you will. Next up on the ad front, we have Game Time. And let me tell you about Game Time. It is the app you need if you want to get concert tickets to TCU, SMU. It's such a great app and a way to just kind of do this from the comfort of your home. Here you go. Talk about how much you love going to events. I love going to events. Everybody loves going to events. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets easier for your favorite live events. It filters out the fluff to show you only great deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands and thousands and thousands of tickets. With Game Time Picks, curation makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, all that stuff, all in pricing. You can toggle this feature. It shows the total up front with no surprise fees at checkout. Seat views. You can get a panoramic view of your seat, so you know if you're sitting behind a foul pole or a goal post or something like that. So it's the lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. And then you have the ticket coverage. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use DLLS20, DLLS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create the account, redeem the code DLLS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. All right, so we are waiting for our man, Joe Hoyt, to hop on. There he is, Joe Hoyt. What's going on, my man, out there in, I believe you're in Frisco, are you not, at Cowboys World Headquarters?
Yep, I'm out here in Frisco, but it's good to see you, Jeff. Let's talk a little Iron Skillet, shall we?
Yeah, it's my favorite of the skillets, the iron one. No, but you covered them for the Dallas newspaper right when all the stuff hit the fan with Sonny Dykes picking up and going across town to SMU. I came in on the backside of that, saw the TCU end of it, so everybody was joyful and happy. I get the feeling that wasn't the case at SMU.
No, that was definitely not the case at SMU. And honestly, Jeff, it's funny because before this, I was reading an old story I did with Sonny a year later, right before his tenure at TCU started, and kind of looking back at things. And it's kind of, you have to refresh your memory a little bit. It wasn't an easy ending for anyone. I think the thing that bothered Sonny the most from with his time at SMU was kind of the instability of conference realignment at the time. The Big 12 decided not to take SMU, and I think that kind of shook him a little bit. Like, oh no, what am I going to do? He told me many times that I believed I could build something at SMU similar to what he has at TCU. Obviously, he figured he can get a jump start and go to TCU. But it's kind of funny just looking back, Jeff. Now, I mean, obviously, at how stressful and tenuous that whole situation was. That now SMU is also in a Power Five. Now you have two schools in Power Fives, and it's kind of funny how things change a couple years later. But I know that was not easy for anyone.
Yeah, and he talked about at his weekly press conference this week that he has a lot. He still has a lot of friends, a lot of people who treated him right, treated the family right. I mean, he had been out of coach. He was at Cal, got fired, went to La Tech, came to SMU, a bigger market, a bigger city, a bigger program, quite frankly. But it doesn't take one person. It takes a village to run a college football team. And he talked about the players. A lot of them have left. That's just the nature of college football these days. But I mean, there's a personal connection between coaches and their programs, is there not?
Oh, undoubtedly, yeah. And I was looking back, and one thing he told me was that SMU threw him a lifeline. I mean, it's hard for former Division One head coaches if they have a bad tenure to get back to a prominent place. I mean, yes, they can get other jobs, and then it's kind of on them to succeed. At SMU, he was very successful. And if you look back at the time, when all the coaching chatter started, SMU was riding high. It was kind of, hey, is this going to be their year to win the American? Are they going to be, maybe an upset, dark horse team to get into a top 25, be a top 20 program? They were in the top 25, and
Yeah.
then all of a sudden Texas Tech moves on from Matt Wells, TCU moves on for Gary Patterson, and then SMU loses 4 of their last 5. And I think that's something, no matter what, for SMU perspective, I think is hard for them to forget. It's just how things ended there.
Yeah, I was I wasn't covering. I was actually at a SMU basketball game right before. I think it was the day the season ended. I'm sure you remember well. There, and fans were talking. Oh yeah, Sonny's gone. All this stuff. It seemed like it had been a foregone conclusion for a couple weeks, really.
Mm-hmm.
But it happened, and then the game was played in 2022, and there was a lot of vitriol leading up to it. Do you think that's died down at all?
I don't think so, to be honest with you. I mean, you even had, Dallas Mayor Eric Johnson today at City Council wearing a TCU Sucks shirt on behalf of, or yeah, TCU Sucks with a circle around it. And, those are the same shirts that were worn on that Tulsa game day, through the walk through the boulevard when Sonny was doing his last walk as the SMU head coach. And you had fans wearing them in front of him. And, I think this is just a rivalry at this point that's just picked up a lot of heat in the Iron Skillet. And, obviously it's going to end soon, and both schools are kind of going in their different directions, one in the Big 12, one in the ACC. But I think when you consider the constants still around, when you consider that SMU still has a lot of leadership there, TCU now, I mean, they still have Sonny Dykes there. And I think that the vitriol is kind of going to continue. And, I wouldn't be surprised to see some of that on Saturday.
What are your thoughts on the SMU coach Rhett Lashley? And just they seem like he and Sonny just seem like complete opposites personality wise. Maybe I'm wrong. It seems like from afar though that Sonny's a little more laid back, whereas Rhett may not be.
Yeah, it's funny because I think they definitely have different ways about doing it, but both of them are really, I think, understand how to work with the media. To be frank, I think that both of them answer questions well. They, Sonny had open practices. Rhett has open practices to a certain extent now. I think he's limited a little bit of what Sonny put in. But yeah, they're definitely different personalities. Rhett can get fired up. You'll see definitely on SMU sideline if things go a little awry, you'll see an angry Rhett come out. TCU, or we've seen Sonny though get a little angry too before as well.
Sure.
It's funny. I think they're both offensive minds that kind of share some similarities as well.
Yeah, I'm sure there are differences. I mean, but it seems like everything is, based on the Mike Leach spread these days, and then people kind of bastardize it themselves. What might be more of a, and there's a quarterback change. Crap, I forgot about that. There's a quarterback change too. So what is SMU doing differently than maybe the Sonny Dykes ponies did?
Yeah, I think they're really similar, to be honest with you. I think I mean, they both come from similar cloths. They obviously work together, so they have that familiarity. Obviously, the Mike Leach system. I think the one difference, though, with this SMU team is that I think that they identify as a defensive team. Especially going back to last year. You talked about the pass rush a little bit, Jeff. I think that that's something that they kind of want to hang their hat on. I think the 2 QB system, the way that played out, and just kind of having 2 captains and 2 people at media day and as quarterbacks, it kind of doesn't surprise me that they've eventually settled on one. I'm a little surprised, to be honest, that it's Preston this quickly, that they took out. But I think that they believe Kevin gives them the best shot to win. And I'm really, it's funny. You can stop covering beats, and Jeff, I think you know this, but you always still kind of pay attention, right? So I've always been still paying attention to SMU, and frankly, I'm fascinated to see how that looks against this TCU defense in the Iron Skillet.
Yeah, Jennings he's more the, I don't know, the runner of the two. I've never thought of Preston Stone as not a runner though, but it seems like Jennings might be more fleet of foot.
A little bit, but I wouldn't say crazy amount of more athletic, to be honest with you. I think he might have more willingness to run quickly. Maybe that might be the differentiator. And I know the offensive line for SMU has struggled. So I think that's one thing that TCU fans kind of got to watch, is how quickly Kevin Jennings might take off. The one thing about Kevin, though, two things. I think he's got a really strong arm. He's a guy that can push it down the field, and I know they're going to like to run a lot of go routes. But I also think that, the dude has won everywhere he's been. I mean, he went to South Oak Cliff, did really well. Obviously won a state championship there. Sorry, an alarm's going off, but it'll be off in 2 seconds. But, I think that that's something that I'm curious to see what a full dose of Kevin Jennings looks like. I think he will put the ball in some troubling scenarios. That's kind of what I would categorize. He takes some risks. So I think that that's going to be kind of an X factor for TCU and SMU this weekend.
Sonny talked about the talent that's come in. How quickly can the transfer portal change a team? It just seems like, or change a unit, like you're talking about. They want to be identify as a defensive team. It just seems like, holy cow, they got some transfers in there, and voila,
dude. And I think that's one thing I got to give a lot of credit to Sonny. He was ahead of his time with the transfer portal. He recognized very early that Dallas, and then obviously now in Fort Worth, could be a destination for transfers, because it's a lot of guys that are from here, from DFW, went elsewhere, came back. And, frankly, with NIL too, I mean, there's money now to be able to spend. It's kind of free agency-esque. If you need someone, you can go get them. You need a D tackle. Hey, there's someone in the portal. You don't have enough depth at running back. Why don't you go get one? And I think SMU and TCU both have done a great job of that, and for bringing that into the Iron Skillet.
I guess, as just crazy as it seems to say, SMU's in the ACC. So is Cal. It's ridiculous. But is there an instant benefit from saying, hey, we're in the ACC?
Oh, undoubtedly. Yeah. I think, and honestly, you can trace that back to the reason why I think Sonny Dykes left. I think that he understood that the American just doesn't, in terms of name, when you're talking to recruits and transfers, just does not hit the same as the Big 12 or the ACC. And I think that was just a barrier, to be frank, that Sonny kind of looked at when all the realignment was happening and the chances to go either to Texas Tech or TCU came up. And he's like, I can't afford to miss that, because what if SMU never does get to that Power 5 level? Now, obviously, they're in the ACC, and realignment just keeps turning. But that's become a huge factor for them, and I think you can credit a lot of the talent influx at SMU to that.
Yeah, I mean, you're in a good conference until you're not. I mean, this with all the talk of Clemson and Florida State, maybe North Carolina leaving, you don't know how long it's going to last. So I guess you got to seize it while you can. But man, I'm looking forward to. You got a prediction on the game? I'm looking forward to this one.
Ooh, I'll be honest with you. I have not watched enough TCU. I covered Josh Hoover when he was in high school. I think he's got a great arm. I've not watched enough TCU to feel confident about a prediction. But hey, it'll be close. And I'll predict this, Jeff. Rashee Rice will not be planting his flag at midfield at some point.
There you go.
Okay, so that's the safe prediction I've got.
Well, I just hope he's not driving anywhere near the stadium also. So, Joe Hoyt, back to Cowboys. I think we've got a great thing going here at DLLS. TCU's the first one. I think there are plans to do SMU a little bit later. So yeah, I'm sure you'll be leaned on when that starts, just like I'm being leaned on for TCU. But hey, like you said, you can never leave a beat. So get back to the one that you do, though. We appreciate you hopping on, brother.
Of course. Take care, Jeff.
All right. That's Joe Hoyt from DLLS. Might know him from the morning news and his SMU coverage. The kid knows what he's doing. Not that he's a kid, but I don't know why I said kid. I guess just because, hey, kid, whatever. Anyway, before we get to our next guest, who it looks like it's going to be Jack Bech. He's just got out of class. He's got to do something else. We're going to try to sneak him in here in the next 10 or 15 minutes. Before we do, got to tell you about Empire Floors. Empire Floors, if you don't know, they are one of the leading any kind of floor you need. They're going to help you out. All right. We the Wilsons need floors so badly. Our kids, we have hardwood floors. Our kids just tore them to hell. Riding their scooters. Didn't have big wheels, but whatever the modern equivalent of a big wheel is, I'm sure our kids were riding around on it. We have an older dog. She's peed on it a couple times. We need new floors. That's something that is at the top of the wife's list. And Empire today is the best place to get new flooring. So, there are copycats out there, but nobody can beat Empire on quality, service, and speed. You might see a lower price, but you're not going to get the better quality. Empire is my place to get floors. Here's some of the great things you can do, and this is probably the best one. It's the virtual floor designer. It's a great way to see how new floors will look in your space. Just snap a picture, and instantly you'll see what they look like in the room. So we can take a picture of the front foyer area and see how much nicer it's going to look than the raggedy wood we have in there now. And then shopping can be at a big box store can be frustrating. You might want to end up talking to somebody whose expertise is plumbing or I don't know, lawn care. You need the experts, and Empire today will definitely do that, and they service their own warranties. That's a big deal. So look, schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive $350 off when they use the promo code DLLS. Restrictions apply. See EmpireToday.com, DLLS, EmpireToday.com, DLLS for details. Now, and this is a new sponsor, and if you haven't noticed me over the last 20 years or in the last week watching this show, I love polo shirts and hats. Polo shirts and hats. That's my uniform. Football players wear helmets and pads. I wear golf shirts and hats. And Roback is our new sponsor. Quite simply, Roback is has the best fit, the best feel. The quality of the gear just speaks for itself. Performance polos are better in the heat than anyone else. They're moisture wicking. So when you're out there in the 100-degree heat playing golf and sweating like a pig, the polo's not going to stick to you. It's gonna have a nice stretch. The everyday shorts are also perfect combo for a day on the move. They look clean, but comfortable because they have an elastic waistband. And as I get older, the more elastic I need in my life. Best looking performance polos. Collars never lose their shape. All solid stripes, fun prints, whatever you want. They've got hoodies. The shorts are versatile. You can wear a polo untucked, on the tee, on the move. I would probably wear them here to the studio. They're that nice. So here's what you need to do. Use the code DLLS20 on Roback.com for a generous 20% off your first order. That's spelled RHOBACK. RHOBACK.com. 20% off all polos, hoodies, and shorts with the code DLLS20. Make sure to check them out, and they will have you ready for whatever travels or activities you have. Roback with an H. RHOBACK.com. All right. We are in flux. We're waiting on Jack Bech, or we're waiting on Jamie Plunkett. Who do we got? Got Jamie. We're going to go to Jamie. We might have to dump Jamie. Jamie, we might have to dump you, buddy. I hate to do it to you, but
the first time.
Yeah, but Jack Bech, he's a tight end. He had 200 yards receiving the other day. You had probably a hamburger in the press box. So I'm going to go with Jack Bech. He takes a little bit of priority over you. No offense.
I'm not hurt. Wouldn't be the first time I've been dumped. And frankly, the tacos in the press box were just fine on Saturday.
Okay, very good. So you were there Saturday night watching the 35-34 loss to UCF. So what concerns you the most after last week and then needs to be fixed going into this week?
I think the obvious one is the run defense, giving up 289 rushing yards on the ground. on 54 carries is tough. It didn't look like TCU made a ton of adjustments in the second half when UCF really got rolling on the ground. But also realistically, one of the things that hurt TCU in the second half of this game was Josh Hoover was able to overcome a lot of third and long situations in the first half. That wasn't the case in the second half. They found themselves in third and longs a little bit too frequently. And that second to last drive where they throw 3 passes at or behind the line of scrimmage, they only burn about a minute of clock, really hurt them because it gave UCF a lot of time to get that final go-ahead touchdown. So rushing defense was a problem. And then I think the game was maybe not called to the best of its ability offensively, especially in the second half, and the execution was lacking just a little bit.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. That question came up yesterday at the presser, and Sonny Dykes defended the play calling and felt like they had done a good job with that. And there were some execution things that didn't happen. And, a little dumb penalty there at the goal line that cost them big. But yeah, I mean, if you're in the lead, you got to take some time off the clock, especially when your defense is having trouble stopping that really good run game. I mean, holy cow, it's done differently these days. Everybody spread out wide and everything, but it's not different from option football, the old Nebraska I formation and Oklahoma wishbone, Colorado wishbone, and it can punish you, especially if you have a bunch of big old corn-fed guys up there up front like Nebraska used to have. But it wasn't all negative. We talked about Jack Bech, who's coming on next, maybe imminently, maybe bumping you to the next segment. He seems like a matchup problem, this guy.
Yeah, he really is. There's a reason that he led LSU in receiving his freshman year with the Tigers. He's been dinged up the last few years, which have kept him off the field. But now that he's fully healthy, he's showing what he can do. He's an excellent route runner. He's got great hands. He's got deceptive speed, and he's capable of being moved inside and outside. We saw him practicing mostly at that inside wide receiver, that slot position this fall, but with a couple injuries in the receivers room, he moved out to Z receiver for week 1 against Stanford. They liked him out there a lot, and so he's been bouncing back and forth. And when he creates the matchups that you want opposite of another really great wide receiver in Savion Williams, you're going to find him in single coverage a lot, and Josh Hoover's getting the ball out to him on time, and he's looking really good with the ball in his hands.
He's a senior. J.P. Richardson's a senior. Savion Williams is a senior. They're all seniors. It seems like all the receivers, except McAllister, I think, is a junior. 2 tight ends are seniors atop the depth chart. How much does that help a younger guy, although he's getting older, like Josh Hoover, just having guys that know where the heck to be and when to be there?
I think it's definitely helpful. And Sonny Dykes talks all the time about the value of experience in college athletics and college football. I think it still requires trust, though. And so if you've got guys that have only been here for 8 months, Eric McAllister, Drake Dabney, some of these other guys that came in from other programs, still takes time to get used to one another, still takes time to build trust between that quarterback and wide receiver to know that the receiver is going to be where they're supposed to be when they're supposed to be there. And I think that's one of the advantages that Jack Bech has, is that he's been in the program for a couple of years. He's been able to practice more with Josh Hoover, who missed this past spring. And so they've got that really good relationship, and it's continuing to develop.
When I was covering UNT, this is probably not safe for work, but Daryl Dickey was the coach, and they had gotten beat by somebody. I don't remember who, and he was going over kind of like the details, going back to basics, and he went, assignment. And like trying to, it's like, what does that mean? He goes, that means be where the F you're supposed to be. And it makes a lot of sense. I mean, if guys are where they're supposed to be, you're going to have a lot more success, it would seem like. You grew up in the area, Jamie, and you went to TCU like I did. What are your favorite TCU SMU memories as the series kind of winds down on an annual basis?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. I'm probably the wrong person to ask this question to, because really I don't care much for the Iron Skillet rivalry. I grew up at a time where TCU has won the majority of those games, and so I caught the back end of Joe's interview and saw him talking about Rashee Rice planting the flag. I remember my freshman year at TCU was the year TCU beat Oklahoma in Norman and then lost to SMU the next week. So that was a pretty devastating Iron Skillet memory.
2005.
But the reality is TCU should beat SMU more often than not, and that's kind of the expectation. Losing to Baylor, losing to Texas Tech, those games hurt a lot more than
More palatable.
Yeah, I celebrate wins over Baylor and Texas Tech more than I celebrate a win over SMU, just because
There you go.
that's what you should do.
Yeah.
You should
No,
beat SMU.
my last year at TCU was 97, and that was the year when SMU came in getting ready for their first bowl game ever, and TCU had not won a game in Pat Sullivan's last year, and they go ahead and rattle off and beat Ramon Flanagan and SMU and storm the field and get the goalposts. And I think they got tear gas too, the fans. But I remember that one. Went and got some. I think I got some barbecue at Railhead and a few beers beforehand, if memory serves correctly. But that's interesting. You know, I don't want to take any thunder away from your podcast that you're going to be having on, that you're going to be doing this week. But I saw you ask the question about whether the rivalry should continue. So you're anti-rivalry continuing.
Well, I think I'd be okay with the game still happening if it was a 2-for-1 or just in Fort Worth. I think the reason that it's going away is that Jeremiah Donati and TCU believe that they should have at least 6 or 7 home games every year. That's what the bigger programs in the country are doing. And this year in 2024, they only have 5.
Right.
And their only non-conference home game was Long Island. And that's just not palatable for the fan base. That's not something that you can easily sell as a season ticket package. And you've got to have non-conference flexibility with all of these P4 games scheduled out to like 2036 at this point.
Yeah.
You need flexibility to be able to have a second decent home game in non-conference, and SMU wasn't willing to budge on the 1-1. So you got to do what you got to do.
You cover all TCU sports. There is at least one top 25 team. Women's volleyball. Jason Williams, this is his 3rd year now. He came in and really kind of turned the program around quickly. And now you're talking about they beat UCLA. They beat they played Wisconsin well earlier in the year. Wisconsin's a power. Played Nebraska well. I think Nebraska was ranked number 1. Yeah, and women's volleyball is never going to rival basketball or football for revenue, but it's nice to see that things are happening on the positive side with that sport.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's a reminder that because of where TCU is located, if you get the right coaching staff in place, it's not just a recruiting hotbed for hoops and football and DFW. You can bring in local talent in whatever sport you're coaching and be successful at this level. They beat Minnesota, who's another pretty consistently ranked team. They just beat UTA in the middle of the week this week. Melanie Parra's back-to-back National Player of the Week, which I think is like the first time that's ever happened.
Oh, wow.
Is that a player's won back-to-back awards from the AVCA? And so it's pretty cool to see where the program's come under Jason Williams. And I really like the roster that he's constructed. I think they're going to be competitive moving forward.
Yeah, hey, maybe the Frogs and Ponies need to hook up on volleyball because SMU's ranked 22 in the newest poll. But you see this turnaround in a lot of the sports. Mark Campbell's doing it with women's basketball. Baseball is more of a revenue sport, but gosh, these rosters turn over a lot between the draft and the transfer portal. Who are a couple of guys that the Frogs have coming in for next season, and we'll be here for fall ball, which starts soon.
Yeah, I think really, I mean, you're talking about baseball. The Frogs got off pretty good when it comes to who they lost in the draft this year. Peyton Tolley was the one who you knew was going to go. He got drafted 50th overall to the Boston Red Sox, and then a freshman in the recruiting class, Blake Larson, went 100th overall as well. But he's the only kid out of the recruiting class they lost. They were worried about 6 or 7, so they're getting Noah Franco, a 2-way player from IMG Academy who's on campus already, getting some work in. Anthony Silva, the guy who started at shortstop the last 2
he's back.
Frogs, played in the Cape this summer. Ended up deciding to come back for his junior year, even though he was a draft-eligible sophomore. A kid coming in, Nolan Traeger, one of the better catchers in this recruiting class, is going to come in and share time with Carson Bowen. And then some really good pitching. You know, Cademan Parker was drafted in the 11th round by the Milwaukee Brewers, couldn't come to a deal with the Brewers, so he's back on campus. You've got Cole Klecker coming back. You've got a Wichita State transfer, Tommy Lepore, coming in, who's going to compete for a weekend starter role. I like the depth and the talent on this roster overall. And I think this is an opportunity for Kirk Sarlos and his coaching staff to get the Frogs back to the postseason and potentially Omaha.
That's interesting about Parker. The 11th round pick, the way the draft is structured, is the first pick on the last day, and teams have a chance to really target guys. So Parker is somebody that the Brewers wanted, and usually there's enough leverage to get a deal done. But good for TCU that it didn't happen. So.
Yeah.
So there you go. Just got word from Mark Cohen that Jack Bech is pulling into his house and about to hop on. So Jamie, you're done. But we'll try to do it again here soon. Maybe even next week. Maybe we make you a regular.
Hey man, just call me. I'm here.
All right, man. Sounds good. Sounds
All right,
good. All right. Thanks, man. All right. Jack Bech in his car in the driveway, pulling up now. Before we get to him, let me tell you about what it means to be a diehard at DLLS. It's a membership, alldls.com/join-diehard. If you're a diehard member, it's $80, $79.99. I'll go ahead and round up. $80 a year. You get a free shirt that's valued at $35. You get the free shirt every year. But more importantly than that, you get access to all the written content at DLLS. I wrote a story today. I covered the Rangers about Nathan Eovaldi, has some details about his contract, Kumar Rocker's influence, Jacob deGrand's influence, the TV deal, and what the Rangers are going to be doing there. Only diehards can read it, and they're enjoying the heck out of it. Trust me, that's how big my ego is. But you also get like first access to our events. Whether it be like a watch party or a stadium takeover. We're hoping to be able to plan some trips where people can come travel with us, hang out. You'd pay for the travel, but you can still get to hang with us. And hey, well, that's totally worth it, right? And then there's a 20% discount if you're a diehard. So lots of good things to do when you're a diehard. And if you're a diehard, you know what? You just might as well go ahead and get more merch. Yes, you get the free shirt, but why stop at one? I've got 4 coming. They ship on Monday. The pre-sale ends. I'm going to get my shirts. I'm going to be wearing them all the time. There is a TCU shirt. It's very sharp. I'm looking forward to wearing that one. And then hats are coming, as you can see. And as I've mentioned, people don't recognize me without a hat. Hoodies. We're getting into fall, despite it being 95 degrees outside. Fall is coming, and they have some great collections of stuff there. And it's not just in our market: Dallas, Fort Worth, Denver, Phoenix, Philly, Chicago. If you know anybody who lives there and wants quality items and wants to be an insider on the local sports scene, you can get them some merch. Store.allcity.com. Go get your merch today. We appreciate you. And we are waiting for Mr. Bech to roll in from his driveway. Hopefully it's not a long walk, but he's calling now. Tanner's all over it, our producer. While we're waiting, there's Jack Bech.
Well, here we go.
You hear us, Jack?
Yes, sir, I do. How are you doing?
I'm doing real well. How about you?
I'm doing great.
All right. Well,
Sorry
thank you.
that. I was coming back from class.
No, I mean, you are a student athlete. You're not just an athlete.
Sure.
All right.
Yes, sir.
I see the basketball hoop. I saw that you played high school in basketball. I'm glad you're not getting too far away from those roots. But
Yes,
how are you
sir.
doing, man? How's the season started for you so far? It looks like, obviously, based on Saturday, fantastic.
Yes, sir. It's definitely been going pretty well. Definitely wish we could have gotten the win. That was a really good team. That was probably going to be one of the more talented teams we faced all season. We played pretty good the first half, then just kind of let it slip away second half, and we definitely won't let that happen again. But yeah, no, the Lord has definitely been blessing me these past couple of weeks. He's given me a lot of opportunity, and I'm just going to be more thankful.
Okay, so 9 catches, 200 yards. What goes into a game like that? Obviously there's something with the quarterback. Obviously the talent that God blessed you with, but how does a day like that unfold?
Like you said, you just right spot at the right time. Once you get a couple of catches, you make a couple big plays. The quarterback tends to keep tossing it your way, and me and Hoove have a great relationship. Not only on the field but off the field, we're always hanging out, getting food, chilling, doing whatever. Always just cultivating that relationship, as just like all the other guys, Savion, JP. We have a very talented receiving core right now. So, I'm just, like I said, blessed to be a part of it.
You guys are all old. I mean, you're seniors, upperclassmen. It's kind of crazy. I don't remember seeing a collection of like this at TCU in a long time. How does that help you guys? I mean, you guys have seen some things.
Yeah, 100%. We have definitely all, we've all played a lot of football to say the least. Um, we've seen a lot of different coverages. We've seen a lot of different looks. We've played a lot of different players. So to just be able to all mesh and all be on the same page, I think it's been, it's been pretty fun so far this year. We just can't wait to keep that going.
How did you and Josh and the other receivers work together over the summer after he missed spring practice to get to where you are on the same page like you are now?
Yeah, every week just putting in extra hours, going on routes in the morning and the afternoons, late at night, in the indoor with the lights on. Then it's like all the bonding stuff we do off the field, going eat, just hanging out, watching football, or going just chill, do whatever, and just always being around each other. Forming that closely knit relationship that we all have. It's definitely a lot of time, a lot of work put into it, a lot of effort, but we're starting to bear the fruits of it all now, so it's been fun.
Are you able to finish each other's sentences? I mean, are you guys
Sometimes,
that close?
not all the time though. Sometimes.
How has Josh developed though since last year? I mean, it was your first year two at TCU. I know he'd been in the system the year before, but his first time really starting and in a big role. How has he gotten better?
Yeah, I think obviously he could always throw the ball. He was always super accurate. I think he took like that huge leadership role this offseason. I think he really grew into that leader that this team needed. He's done a great job just leading all the guys, offense, defense, getting everybody ready for the games, locking everybody in. And just like I said, I think that was really the main thing that he did over, over the course from last season to this season was just, being that leader that this team needed for bringing guys with them and for getting everybody really bought into the program.
You get to develop too. Everybody gets a chance to get better, and it was your first system as a new offense for everybody, but for you after coming over from LSU. How have you gotten better since last season?
Yeah, I think, I always try to get better in every way, shape, and form during the offseason, not just focus on one thing, but kind of focus on everything. So just bigger, stronger, faster, have a better understanding of the game mentally, just like a totality of my whole game. Like I just kind of said with Hoover, just been a lot of hard work behind the scenes. It's obviously been God blessing me. This is the closest my relationship with God has ever been. So He's been blessing me with just so many blessings and so many opportunities. And He's helped me make the most of them so far. So like I said, I just can't wait, to keep on with this season and to start winning a bunch of games.
You're kind of yeah. I don't know if I just talked to Jamie Plunkett, one of the 247 writers, about you, and I don't know. Yeah, you're wide receiver, but it seems like you could be pretty versatile. Do you think you sneak up on guys? Does your athleticism surprise people? What do you think about all this stuff?
That's a good question. I don't really know the answer to, but I think I don't know. It's a hard one to answer. I think that probably sometimes they probably don't think I can sometimes do the things that I'm able to do. And I guess if guys want to keep sleeping on me, let them, and we'll keep doing what we're doing.
Do you have an NFL player you model yourself after, or maybe another college player that you watch and are like, hey, I could be that guy?
Yeah, I want to say be that guy. But I like looking at like Calvin Johnson's mentality he has. Like whenever you see the picture of him on the goal line with 3 guys on him, just like it doesn't matter if you have 1 guy on you, if you have the whole 11 on you, like you still want the ball to come your way. You want to still go make that play, and it doesn't matter, if you're covered, if you have 20 yards of separation, that you want the ball and you're going to go make the play regardless of what's happening.
How about those 2 catches Savion made Saturday? Speaking of guys
Man,
all over him.
man, that's what I'm saying. Like, we have a very, very talented receiving core. Like, any one of us can just absolutely go off and make an unbelievable play anytime. Yeah, like those 2 touchdowns, both the touchdowns he had. I mean, the first one over 2 guys, just straight up Moss ball, like Randy Moss used to do. And then
Yeah.
you got he broke him off, the second touchdown, broke him off on the post. And ball was a little bit behind him, and I mean the way he adjusted and just that ball literally just like stuck to his hands.
I thought the second one was better. I thought he had
Yeah,
to do some serious body contortion there and come away with
yeah,
that ball. That was pretty
yeah.
sweet.
The second one was nasty, and the route was nasty too. It was all around a great play by Savion.
Okay, so get to know a little bit about Jack Bech. You're from Lafayette, Louisiana. Transfer from LSU. You just came from the classroom. What are you working on in school?
I'm a comm major, so comm major, and then criminal justice minor. So just doing all these school things, while I'm either at football or doing school. So it's definitely a lot, but I have a bunch of great teachers and a bunch of great classes, and I'm learning a bunch. So I've been loving TCU. I couldn't ask to be at a better place.
Let me ask you. You said criminal justice. Do you know Des Moines Clark? He's a professor. He's an adjunct professor there.
I do not. This, like
Okay.
you said, this is only my second year.
Yeah.
So I've met that, and that's my minor. So I'm not in as many of those classes. So
Yeah. Okay. Well, let me tell you, if you get a chance, look him up. He's a lieutenant in the Grand Prairie Police Department, but he played college football at Northwestern State, right up the road from you in Louisiana.
exactly.
And yeah, and he was a fullback there. He had been recruited to go to LSU, and then Nick Saban came in and decided he didn't want him, so he ended up at Northwestern State. He was part of the team that in 2001, I believe it was, came in and just shocked TCU at home, beat him in double overtime. I think it was Gary Patterson's either first game or first home game, so it was not the start. But he's a great man. You could learn a lot from Des Moines. So if you get a chance, remember that name, Des Moines Clark.
Des Moines Clark, right. Yes, sir.
And he's a Louisiana guy, so you guys got it right there. Yeah. 100%. Okay, so you've been here 2 years now. You found a favorite restaurant you go to a lot in Fort Worth?
Yeah, I would say there's a couple of different ones like Maria's for Mexican or
Sure.
Panther City and Heim for barbecue. Dutch's on campus is a spot that me and the guys like to go to a lot. Yeah, different places like that.
Oh, we got a dog running around?
We do have a dog.
What kind?
An XL bully.
Oh, really? We got a name?
He's a Zion. He's a pretty big guy.
You bring him up. Oh, there we go. What's his name?
His head is bigger than mine.
Oh, his tongue's pretty big too.
Yeah, he's a big boy, but he's a
What
baby.
does he weigh?
Baby. Like around 100 pounds.
Okay, so he likes Dutch's too.
Yeah, he loves Dutch's. He loves hamburgers every now and then.
Well, Dutch's is
my best friend right here.
Dutch's is the first time I met. Is the first place I met Josh Hoover. So there you go.
No,
that's pretty good. So are you burgers and steaks and Mexican food? It sounds like.
I am. I'm not the biggest steak guy in the world, but I mean, I definitely like burgers, and I really like all foods. But
yeah,
I like Cajun food a lot.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say you're from Louisiana. You got to. What's your go-to dish at home that mom makes you?
It's really my grandma.
Okay.
She's from down from the bayou, down near like Thibodeau, the Nickel State area.
Yeah.
People know what that is. Down all the way down from Houma, Louisiana. So she's all things Cajun, but probably her shrimp stew with boiled eggs in it. It's pretty good.
Shrimp stew with boiled eggs?
Yes, sir.
That sounds awesome.
Make you want to slap somebody. It's so good.
Is it spicy?
Oh, it has good spice. Not too spicy, but it has some spice for sure.
Okay. Then I'm in. Next time I'm down there, I'm coming. Tell her I'm knocking on her door, all right? All right, so you don't have a lot of free time. So what do you do besides eat and play with your dog?
You kind of just nailed it. It's football, school, eat, play with my dog, take him on walks, go throw balls to him and stuff in the backyard, and just kind of really hang out, try to get off my feet and rest as much as possible.
Yeah, well, I know that's a big thing with TCU is taking care of your body, eating the right things. Paid off in 2022. I'm sure you're seeing it pay off too. What's going to happen Saturday at SMU?
Yeah, we're going to go out. We're going to play, the best of our ability, and we're going to go handle business.
Yeah, it's going to be a good game. I think it is. I think they're talented, and They really don't like Sonny Dykes anymore. So have your coaches
All right.
back. Have your coaches back.
Yeah, well, we got him. Don't worry about that. I'm telling you, we got him.
All right. Hey, Jack, we really appreciate you taking time out of your busy day. Good luck this week. I'll see you next time at the media interview, and make sure I introduce myself. But thanks for your time. We really appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. God bless you. Have a great week.
Same to you. Thanks. Same to you. All right, guys, that's Jack Bech, and that wraps up week number 2, round number 2, quarter number 2, whatever you want to call it, number 2 of our All Horned Frogs podcast, part of the All-City Network family of podcasts. And we're so fired up, we're going to go ahead and do it next week. So join us, same time, same place. Take care.
We all silly like the mayor.